The morning was bitterly cold when Cole Bennett drove his pickup into the dusty lot outside the Bureau of Land Management's auction house. He hadn't planned on being there. A neighbor had asked him to haul home a Mustang mare, and Cole, the kind of man who still kept his word, agreed. For him, it was supposed to be an errand, nothing more. But sometimes destiny hides in ordinary moments. Cole had spent the last 12 years working the Broken Arrow Ranch, 30,000-acre spread in Nevada's high desert. At 35, he knew hardship better than most. Dust storms that choked the sky, winters that froze bone, debts that kept him awake at night. He loved the land, but it hadn't always loved him back. He thought he understood what struggle looked like until he met a trembling foal who would change everything. Inside the auction pen, the smell of hay and dust mixed with the nervous stamping of hooves. Mustangs shifted restlessly behind the bars. Buyers scanned them with practiced eyes, calculating muscle and profit. Few noticed the smaller lives hiding in the shadows. Cole's gaze fell on her. A foal no more than a few months old, pressed into a corner. Ribs showed through her dust-streaked black coat. Her legs shook under her tiny frame. She looked lost, eyes wide with fear, as if she still expected her mother to appear out of nowhere. Cole felt something in his chest tighten. He hadn't come to buy. He had no money for another mouth to feed. Yet when the bidding began, and her number flashed across the board, the crowd fell silent. No one wanted her. Too small, too fragile, too much trouble. Before he had time to reason, Cole raised his hand. "Sold," the auctioneer barked. Cole blinked, stunned. Just like that, the foal was his. On the drive home, the little black Mustang he named her Hope lay curled in the trailer, exhausted. Cole shook his head at himself. Foolish, he thought. He barely scraped by each month. Yet when he caught sight of her through the slats, something stirred in him he hadn't felt in years. Purpose. In the weeks that followed, Cole realized Hope had been more than just neglected. Paperwork from the auction looked Audricourt's incomplete, numbers not adding up. A quiet unease settled over him. He began to notice other Mustangs moved in ways that didn't match their official trails. It wasn't cruelty he witnessed directly, but neglect horses shuffled too quickly, shipped without care, some quietly disappearing from reports. Cole couldn't let it go. He started making notes, taking photos, asking quiet questions. He didn't confront anyone outright, but each small inconsistency pulled at him. He was unto man looking for trouble. He was a man who had seen enough hardship to know silence sometimes costs more than speaking. Hope gave him courage. Each morning she greeted him at the pasture fence, her legs steadier, her eyes brighter. She learned to follow his voice, to trust his hands. Training her required patience, slow steps, quiet moments, but she responded. She was, as he often whispered, a survivor. And in teaching her to trust again, Cole realized he was learning something too. Resilience wasn't about never breaking. It was about healing, however long it took. Word reached him subtly that some folks didn't appreciate his questions. A rancher at the feed store muttered, "You ought to mind your own business, Bennett." A stranger's truck lingered too long at the end of his road one night. No threats, no confrontations, just reminders that looking too closely had its risks. But Cole carried on. He organized his notes carefully, built a quiet file of evidence. He wasn't trying to be a hero. He simply wanted fairness, transparency, for the animals that couldn't speak for themselves. One evening, as the desert sunset painted the horizon gold and crimson, Hope trotted beside him, her black coat gleaming in the fading light, her gait more confident than ever. Watching her, Cole thought of the thousands of wild horses still roaming free, and the ones who weren't so lucky. He felt a quiet conviction settle inside him. Months passed before Cole finally drove to the regional BLM office. He handed over his file, not with anger, but with steady clarity. He explained what he had seen: gaps in paperwork, horses unaccounted for, irregular shipments. The officials listened, promised to review, and took his evidence seriously. Waiting was hard. Nights stretched long with doubt. Had he risked too much? Would anyone even care? But every morning, Hope reminded him why he had spoken. She had been the foal no one wanted, the life overlooked. If one voice could make a difference for her, perhaps it could for others too. Weeks later, a letter arrived. Investigations had been launched. Procedures were being reformed. Mistakes had been uncovered, some from negligence, some from carelessness, Changes were already in motion to prevent them. It wasn't dramatic. No headlines, no arrests splashed across newspapers. But it was progress. Horses would be safer, accounted for, better treated. Cole read the letter twice, then set it down with a long exhale. Relief washed through him, not the fiery triumph of victory, but the quiet peace of knowing he had done right. Outside, Hope galloped across the pasture, her black mane catching the wind, legs strong at last. She looked nothing like the trembling foal he had seen in the pen months before. She was vibrant, alive, free. Cole leaned against the fence, watching her. His ranch was still hard, his debts still real. But in that moment he felt something rare. Hope for the future, both hers and his. Hope trotted back to him, nudged his shoulder, eyes shining with trust. Cole stroked her neck gently. "You were worth it, little one," he whispered. And in that quiet Nevada morning, surrounded by desert, both harsh and beautiful, Cole understood. Salvation doesn't always come through grand victories. Sometimes it lives in the simple act of refusing to look away. The foal he saved had, in turn, saved him. And in her strength, he found his own proof that even in the hardest places, hope can take root.